Our next honoree of the evening is Jay Trochesset. To tell you a little bit more about Jay, please welcome to the stage Captain Bart Garnsey. Bart will be easy on you, I guarantee it. He don't know too many stories about you, Jay.
What I like about Skip Smith is his last name is real easy to say. You know, they're doing this, the way they do this now has changed a little bit. They make us read a lot of stuff, and some of us that were dropouts. It's a little tough. I'd never met Jay Trochesset, and I'm going to stick with that. That's how I'm saying it. How'd I do? All right, man. I've been studying all afternoon. Carl and I came down this afternoon and down to BMR and met these guys, and I never have met them. I've heard a lot about them. It was a thrill. These cats are the real deal, and it was so much fun. We were there we spent an hour and a half or so. 3 or 4 guys that I grew up with here on the East Coast went out there. They knew them real well, and they're a super bunch of guys. I don't want to struggle through this and read it. As much as I hate to do it, I could make up another story and tell you about something else altogether, but they told me I had to read this, so here we go. Captain Jay, and this is Jay Trochesset, that was right over there, by the way. Captain Jay was raised in the charter business in Mississippi coast. He began working with his father, not unlike about half of the rest of the fishermen in here. The late Captain J.P. on the Gay J, at the age of 12, and that's not unlike good friend Charles Perry, myself, a bunch of us started at about that same age, so we all got a lot in common. He served as a deckhand during the tournaments in high school and in his college years. Although Trochesset, and I almost got it right, enjoyed his time at the University of Southern Mississippi, the excitement of catching cobia and red snapper and jack crevalle, king mackerel and grouper was his true calling. His career as a licensed captain began in 1974, when he purchased his first boat, the Silver Dollar. As the business grew, and he and his father spent the better part of 3 years designing and building the Silver Dollar One, a 50-foot fiberglass sport fisherman, without the benefit of blueprints. They're kind of like the Merritts, actually, if you think about it, I guess. I hadn't really thought about that before. I probably shouldn't have thought about it now, actually, but Trochesset was highly regarded in the charter industry for bringing the first custom-built catamarans into the area in 1997. He christened his third boat the Silver Dollar II, and it was a 50-foot custom-built catamaran. He now operates the new Silver Dollar III, an updated 52-foot catamaran purchased in 2009. A charter member and the past president of the Mississippi Charter Boat Captains Association, Trochesset is a member in good standing of the Mississippi Gulf Fishing Banks Association, there's a lot of big words in here, National Association of Charter Boat Operators, and the Biloxi Bay Chamber of Commerce. In over 50 years of fishing, he's endured many challenges, including dozens of major hurricanes, the aftermath of the BP oil spill, numerous regulatory restrictions. Can we blame this on Obama? Did I hear a yes over here? Did I hear an amen? Oh, I'm not going there. I'm not going there. Okay, where am I here? Let's see. The aftermath of the BP oil spill and numerous regulatory restrictions. But plans to stay in the business until he passes, just like his father before him. Fishing truly is a family affair for the Trochessets. And I'm now turning the page. His wife, Vicky, he and his wife, Vicky, run the business, and their 2 sons, Dustin and Brandon, are now 3rd-generation charter captains. I'd like to invite Don Marie, and I think I have maybe the wrong names because Skip got this all messed up and threw me a curve. So who am I introducing? I'm not really sure. Y'all come on up here. Whoever's supposed to come up next, hurry up.
What are you doing my note right there?
Oh,
Michael McDermott.
There you go. Okay, I got Dustin and Michael. There they go. Sorry about that. We need a new secretary.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
You know, Jay told me one day when we were running in, fishing was a tough business because you're only really as good as your last trip. When you got a guy like Jay who's out there running, 125, 150 days a year and producing, above average results every day, you're dealing with, you're dealing with a fisherman that's cut above everybody else. When I found out that Jay was going to get this award, I started doing a little research on the award, and I found that it's awarded to guys that have made a significant impact in the industry in their area. My dad and I were talking about, what kind of impact Jay and Kenny as well have had on the industry in our area. And I think the biggest thing that they've done is provide an opportunity for young guys, that are looking to get into the business, teach them what it means to be a good mariner, teach them what it means to be a successful fisherman. I'd have to imagine if you had $1 for every hour of sea time that Jay signed over his career, you probably wouldn't have to work too hard anymore. Speaking of those guys, Mr. Bobby asked me to come up with a funny story to share with y'all, and to be honest, I couldn't really think of any that weren't at my expense. Until Dustin and I were comparing notes, and a lot of guys worked for Jay, and Harold Ketchite used to work for Jay, and we were fishing one day, and he was telling me a story about, Jay gets bad kidney stones, or he did. He blames it on drinking too much tea or root beer or something. He was passing a kidney stone during a trip. He refused to cancel the trip. He was out there, and I guess the pain or something, made him sick to his stomach. He was thrown up in a bucket on the bridge. It was a little rough out, and the charter asked Harold, they said, does the captain normally throw up when it gets rough like this? And Harold, without missing a beat, said only when he's hung over. Well, I'm proud to say that I've gotten the opportunity to work under Jay. I'm humbled that the Trochesset's asked me to be a part of this evening. It's a real special experience. Congratulations to Captain Jay. Captain Jay's son, Dustin Trochesset, is going to come up and say a few words next.
We're short. I got to get this low. First of all, I'd like to thank the IGFA and the committee and Carl for thinking about people up there in the Northern Gulf, like my dad and Captain Kenny, and recognizing us. We had a good time since we've been down here. I'd like to thank Mr. Merritt for letting us come around and bum around his boatyard and act like we knew what we were doing around there. And I'd also like to thank the 3 tables of people from Biloxi or South Mississippi that traveled up here to congratulate our 2 guys. Thank y'all. So you may have heard some of this earlier, but this is a son's point of view. My dad has always told me, you have to make while the sun shines, son. He's one of the hardest working men I know, and he gets his work ethic and drive from his father, my grandfather, who was a World War II vet who drove Higgins landing crafts in the Pacific. He was a very driven and hard-working man himself. He started a charter fishing business in Biloxi in 1959. My dad is always on the go. A former mate and good friend of ours nicknamed him Quick about 25 years ago, and he's still living up to that. I've watched my dad's drive and work ethic my whole life. About 7 years after owning his own boat, his first boat, a slow single screw, somebody was talking about single screw, a slow single screw wooden boat, he decided to upgrade and bought a fiberglass hull. And along with my grandfather, who was an established boat builder, built his second boat from the hull up, a 52-foot fiberglass sport fish. One day my dad fell off a scaffold board and hurt his back. I can remember him walking and let me rephrase that, not being able to walk, but he showed up for work. Because he would have nothing less, and neither would my grandfather. Another example is, like Michael B. told us, I can remember being with him on the boat during a kidney stone attack, throwing up, running a boat, but it didn't matter. You got to show up for work. That's the way it is. My dad worked hard to build a good business with loyal clientele and a good name brand, with the simple idea of whatever it takes to make them happy, son. Wanting to stay ahead of the curve, he decided it was time to upgrade a second time and took some advice my grandfather had given him before he passed and built a catamaran. The Silver Dollar II, his third boat, a 52-foot aluminum catamaran. Not many people had seen catamarans in our area, but it worked out pretty good because he's now on his fourth boat, the second catamaran, the Silver Dollar III. Now, my dad wrestled with the idea of naming this boat after his father. He wanted to name it the Captain J.P. after his dad, Captain Jules Pierre Trochesset. But he, in his business sense, decided that the best thing to do would stick with the brand he had worked so hard to create and went with Silver Dollar III. I had a front row seat for most all of this when I was growing up in a fishing family. When I was young, I loved to go out and run trips with my dad. I loved being out there, but I wanted to play and he wanted me learning something. I was so fortunate because I could work with my dad and be fishing because, like Captain Kinney said, we were trolling and we were all close together. So I'm working with my dad and my grandfathers. He was a fairly loud fella. He didn't need a VHF because you could hear him talking from where he was. So it was really a family event. So I decided that this is what I needed to do. Until I turned into a teenager who knew everything. Then I set a world record. I hold the world record for quitting and or being fired from the same job more times than anybody. People have worked for their father and they may understand that. But I've grown up and we probably only fight 6 or 8 times a day now, maybe, I don't know. But along the way, my dad has built a good business. He's trained many mates, as Captain Kinney has, who are captains themselves now. One of them who worked for my dad and Kenny, Captain Adam Ladnier, was honored Thursday night by the Billfish Foundation for winning the White Marlin Tagging Award. Captain Adam Ladnier, another Biloxi boy. But he's also been a dad that would give advice, whether it was asked for or not. A dad who was always trying to teach me something. A dad who knew nothing about soccer but never missed a soccer game in high school. A dad who coached my brother in baseball and never missed a game and still does the same thing with my nephews, his grandsons, coaches, and never misses a game. Soccer, baseball, whatever it is, he's there. He raised 2 sons to become captains and who both own their own businesses, myself and my brother, Brandon, who's not here tonight. He's also has a grandson, my nephew, who comes on the boat with us, and we're hoping he will be our 4th generation in the charter fishing industry, and we're very proud of that. But besides that, he taught me to be a man. He taught me that family comes first and to always be proud where I come from, and I couldn't be prouder of my dad tonight.
Congratulations. To accept the Tommy Gifford Award, please welcome Jay Trochesset to the stage.
let's see. Kenny told me for 2 weeks he wouldn't speak long. Wow, these people. Anyway, first I'd like to. Kenny and I grew up together. He's a couple years older than me. He looks a lot older, but he's not. But we actually started deckhand at the same time, and that's how I met Kenny, because we were from different ends of town. And I tell people, we had somebody interview us for the paper there, and they tried to get me to say something bad about Kenny. They tried to get Kenny to say something bad about me, and I said, you know, we're competitors, but at the end of the day, you know, we the grand scheme of things, we're friends, and I'm honored to be on the same platform with Kenny and the rest of these fine captains. Fishing has been good to me. It's something that I always like to do. I thought I was a pretty good baseball player growing up, and all my friends practiced and played baseball, and I started working with my father. I quit baseball at 12 or 13, and you know, I missed out on a lot of things because I was fishing every day, and when we fished back in the early 60s, it was daylight till dark. It wasn't a 7 to 3 job. I'm very honored and humbled to be here and accept this award. And there's 2 people. My father got me in this business. And he said, you know, you college and go back and go teach school. And I said, nah, I really want to fish because I always wanted to. And I wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for my wife, because she is, behind every good man is a good woman. And she's kept us together. And a lot of times, you know, the women get overlooked, and you know, I'm out talking and forgetting her, but without Vicki, I never would be here tonight. Thank you.